The rain poured from the grey clouds like heaven's own tears that afternoon in bustling Lagos. The streets were alive with honking horns, vendors shouting under-soaked. Umbrellas and commuters hustling to get home before the next flood turned the roads into rivers. It was just another chaotic day in the city, except for one soul. Anita stood under the punishing downpour, soaked from head to toe, with her tiny baby girl clutched tightly to her chest. The infant, named Miracle, cried uncontrollably, her voice hoarse, her body trembling from both hunger and the biting cold. Her tiny fists pounded against her mother's chest, seeking warmth, food, anything. Passers-by hurried past the miserable sight. Some gave fleeting glances of pity, others scoffed, shaking their heads. "Why would she bring a baby out in this weather?" a woman muttered under her umbrella. "She's using that poor child to get sympathy," said another in a yellow raincoat. "Don't. Mind her gere, all these scammers. She'll use the money for drugs," a man grumbled as he stepped around the puddle near her feet. But Anita heard them all. Every whisper, every judgment, every cruel word sliced through her like broken glass. Her lips quivered, not from the cold alone, but from exhaustion. Her legs could barely carry her. Her stomach groaned. She hadn't eaten since the previous morning. Miracle had only a few drops of pap earlier that day, shared by a kind market woman who pitied their state. She wanted to scream. She wanted to vanish. But all she could do was hold on, to the child, to hope, to life. Then came the black SUV. It glided down the flooded road like royalty, tires slicing through water with grace. It was shiny, sleek, and tinted. The kind of car Anita had only seen in movies. As it passed, the water it displaced splashed dangerously close to her. Then it slowed. Inside sat Chukwudi Obi, a 36-year-old billionaire and the CEO of Obitech Holdings. A man of influence, wealth, and a reputation for ruthless precision in business. At that very moment, he was on his way to a board meeting that could secure a multi-billion naira tech merger. But as he glanced out the window, something made his heart thud, a divine tug, a whisper he couldn't ignore. "Driver," he said, leaning forward. "Slow down." The man driving blinked, surprised. "Sir?" "Pull over beside that woman, the one with the baby." "Yes, sir." The SUV came to a stop. For a moment, the city paused, at least in Anita's world, as the door opened and Chukwudi stepped out, walking straight into the rain. Anita instinctively took a step back, clutching Miracle tighter. Her eyes widened. Who was this man? In an expensive suit, soaking his shoes for her. "Good afternoon, madam," he said gently, voice cutting through the rain like a balm. "What's the problem? You shouldn't be here. Not with a baby. Not in this weather." Her lips parted. She wanted to speak, to explain, to cry, but no words came. Just silent tears. "Please," he said, lowering his voice. "Let me help. Let's get you somewhere dry. You can talk later." Anita hesitated, trembling, unsure. The voices of warning echoed in her head. "Don't trust strangers. Lagos is dangerous." But hunger and desperation had long since broken those walls. She nodded faintly. Chukwudi opened the rear door for her. "Come, you and the baby." She climbed in slowly, careful not to make the seats too wet. The warmth of the car nearly made her dizzy. She sank into the soft leather, holding Miracle as if she'd melt into her arms. Inside, silence reigned. Chukwudi didn't bombard her with questions. He only offered a white handkerchief. "Here, wipe her face." "Thank you, sir," Anita whispered, her voice barely audible. "Driver," Chukwudi said, sitting beside her, "take us to a restaurant. Somewhere decent?" "Yes, sir." As they drove, the soft hum of the SUV and the warm air blowing from the vents began to soothe the raw tension inside the car. Miracle's cries, once piercing, melted into soft hiccups, until finally she fell, asleep in her mother's arms. Her tiny fingers curled into Anita's chest, breathing slowly and peacefully for the first time all day. Anita looked down at her baby with trembling hands and gently brushed the child's wet hair away from her. Her fingers were cold, her lips slightly purple from the rain, but inside her chest a fragile warmth was beginning to grow, the warmth of hope. She turned slightly toward the man sitting beside her. His eyes were already on her, not with suspicion or pity, but with quiet empathy. There was something about this stranger, something safe and sincere in the way he had stepped into the storm for her. It had been so long since anyone had looked at her like she mattered. She sat in silence. She didn't trust anyone, not anymore. Life had taught her the hard way. Promises always led to disappointment. Smiles often hid fangs. But this man, he hadn't even asked questions. He had just acted. Kenechukwu wanted to speak, to ask what had driven her into the streets, what had led her to that lonely spot in the rain. But one glance at her told him she was far too weak to relive her pain just yet. So instead of interrogating her, he said softly, "Let's get you something warm to eat." The driver took a quiet turn into the driveway of a cozy, upscale restaurant tucked along Victoria Island. As they arrived, Kenechukwu stepped out first and opened the door for Anita. She stepped out slowly, still cradling Miracle. Inside, the air was warm and fragrant. Customers dined at elegant tables, surrounded by soft music and dim yellow lights. Kenechukwu approached the waitress. "A private booth, please," he said firmly. "And tell the chef, warm food, soft for a baby, no spices." "Yes, sir." The waitress, eyeing Anita's soaked clothes and weary face, blinked in surprise, but said nothing as she led them to a discreet corner. Once seated, Anita adjusted Miracle on her lap. Her wrapper was still wet, but she used it to shield the baby's face from the cool air. When the food arrived, a tray of soft yam porridge with mashed egg and warm pap, Anita didn't hesitate. She removed the wrapper from Miracle's tiny body, kissed her forehead, and began feeding her with careful, practiced hands. The child latched onto the food like her life depended on it. Kenechukwu watched in silence, his throat tightening. There were no cameras here, no audience. This wasn't charity for show. It was one human seeing another in pain, and feeling it too. "You haven't eaten," he said softly after a moment. Anita wiped Miracle's face, then her own, and picked up her spoon. She took slow, delicate bites, like someone unsure if she was allowed to enjoy the meal. Her eyes remained fixed on the plate, shame and gratitude dancing in their depths. After a while, her stomach full, and her baby now dozing peacefully, Kenechukwu leaned forward. "Tell me your story," he said, his voice kind but firm. Anita hesitated, heart pounding. But something inside her, something long buried and aching, broke open. Maybe it was the warmth, the kindness, or maybe it was just time. "I lost my parents when I was a little girl," she began, voice shaky. "I was raised by my aunt in the village. She tried, I guess, but she was harsh. I grew up too fast." She paused to steady her breath. Kenechukwu nodded gently. "Then I met Oke. He was from the next village. He came often, said all the right things. I thought he loved me. He said Lagos would be a fresh start." She swallowed hard, blinking away tears. "I got pregnant. At first he acted like he was happy, but the moment I gave birth, everything changed. He didn't come to the hospital. For 3 days I waited. No calls, no visits, nothing." Kenechukwu's jaw tightened. "He left you?" "Just vanished. The hospital pitied me. Let me go without full payment. When I returned to the house, the neighbors said he had packed his things and left. Relocated." She covered her mouth, tears streaming freely. "Since then, it's just been me and Miracle, on the streets, begging." Kenechukwu leaned back, stunned. He had seen pain before, boardroom betrayals, lawsuits, even the silent grief of business losses. But this, This was raw, undiluted survival. "Madame," he said slowly, "you and this child do not belong on the street." Anita shook her head, eyes wide. "Sir, please, No." He cut in gently. "Don't thank me. Just believe me. I will help you. I'll make sure you never lack again." Her lips trembled. "Why would you help me?" Kenachukwu looked at her, eyes firm. "Because it could have been my sister, or someone else's. You deserve a chance." He turned to the waitress. "The bill?" 10,000 naira, sir," she replied. He brought out a bundle of cash, paid instantly, and turned back to Anita. From his inner suit pocket, he retrieved a sleek business card with his name printed in bold gold letters. "I have a meeting. Now, it'll last about 3 hours. Call me after that. I'll come get you." Anita took the card with trembling fingers, staring at it as if it were a treasure map. "Thank you. Thank you, sir. May God reward you." He smiled faintly, nodded, and walked out into the Lagos rain, unaware that fate had only just begun weaving their lives together. Anita carefully folded the card and tucked it inside her baby's inner cloth. She was terrified of losing it. It was the only thread tying her to salvation. But just as she stepped out of the restaurant, the card slipped out. She didn't know. She entered a bus back to the same corner where Kenachukwu had first met her. She waited under a small shelter. When her phoneless eyes saw the hour pass, she searched desperately for the card. It was gone. "No, no, no," Anita muttered frantically, patting her wrapper, checking the folds, searching the baby's cloth, and even scanning the dusty pavement beneath her feet. Her heart raced as panic clawed at her chest. "Miracle! We are so close! Don't let this happen!" Her voice cracked as she fought back tears. The business card, that tiny piece of hope, was gone. Without wasting a moment, she tied Miracle securely to her back, grabbed the edges of her wrapper, and flagged down a noisy township bus heading back toward the restaurant. Inside the bus, she rocked back and forth, praying silently, willing the card to still be there. Her mind raced. Maybe it fell under the table. Maybe someone picked it and kept it for me. Maybe... Meanwhile, across town, Kenachukwu sat in a luxurious boardroom, surrounded by applause and congratulations. His company had just sealed a multi-billion naira deal, but his thoughts were elsewhere. She hadn't called. He checked his phone for the 5th time. No messages, no missed calls. Frowning, he stood abruptly. "Driver," he said, buttoning his suit jacket, "take me back to that restaurant." When they arrived, he stepped out, eyes scanning the pavement, the sidewalk, the windows. Anita was nowhere in sight. But just as he turned to leave, something caught his eye, a damp, smudged business card lying near the entrance. He picked it up, stared at it for a long moment, then sighed deeply. "She just used the food," he muttered bitterly. "Maybe. That's all she wanted." Anita rushed into the restaurant just moments after Kenachukwu's car pulled away. They missed each other by mere seconds. "Please, did anyone see a business card?" she asked a waitress desperately. "No, ma," the girl replied. Anita stood still on the road, confused, breathless, defeated. The next morning, Anita wrapped Miracle securely on her back and made her way back to the same road where she had met Kenachukwu. The sky was clear, and the air smelled of yesterday's, a rain. Her eyes were tired but hopeful, scanning every black SUV that passed by. "Maybe he'll go to work today," she whispered to herself. "Maybe he'll pass here again, maybe..." She stood by a shelter near the junction, rocking Miracle gently as she watched cars come and go. Some drivers glanced her way and looked quickly ahead. Others didn't even notice her. Every black vehicle that approached made her heart race and then sink. It wasn't him. Meanwhile, at Kenachukwu's home, it was a day of celebration. His younger brother Clinton was returning from Canada after 7 years abroad. The house buzzed with excitement. Cooks moved swiftly in and out of the kitchen. Maids laid fresh linens in the guest rooms. A band was setting up in the garden. Kenechukwu himself wore a navy blue agbada and moved about giving instructions. But his heart wasn't completely in the festivities. Something was still bothering him. At 9:30 a.m., he instructed the driver to head to the airport, but this time not in the familiar black SUV. They were taking the red Lexus. The driver grabbed a printed sign that read, "From Kenechukwu," and drove off. At the airport arrival zone, Clinton stepped out, taller and broader than his brother remembered, dragging 2 heavy suitcases. "Guy, not real Nigeria be this Clinton laughed, bumping fists with the driver. Traffic go kill person for this place. As they drove home, stuck briefly in holdups, Clinton sighed. How una day survive like this every day? The driver chuckled. We day manage, sir. It's our own survival Olympics. Then, the driver's eyes caught a familiar figure by the side of the road. Anita. She was still standing there with the baby strapped to her back, looking up hopefully at every car that passed. His heart twisted. He almost hit the brakes, but remembered Clinton in the back seat. He hesitated. What would he say? Would Clinton understand? Would he think it strange? So he drove on. But his chest grew heavier with each kilometer. By the time they reached the mansion, laughter filled the air. Friends and extended family had arrived. Clinton was pulled into hugs and handshakes, while champagne corks popped in the background. But the driver lingered quietly near the entrance, unsure how or when to interrupt. When Kenechukwu finally slipped into the kitchen to get some wine glasses, the driver followed quickly and tapped him on the shoulder. Sir, he said in a hushed tone, I saw Anita this morning. Kenechukwu froze. Where? Same spot, where we first saw her. She's still there. She looks lost. Kenechukwu didn't wait. Get the car. Now, go and bring her here. I don't care how long it takes. The driver turned and bolted. Back at the roadside, Anita had begun to lose hope. She was sitting on a broken bench, staring blankly at the road. Miracle had fallen asleep against her back. Then the red Lexus pulled up beside her. Madam! A familiar voice called. She turned slowly, afraid to hope, and then saw the driver. Please come with me, he said. My boss sent me. He's been looking for you. Tears welled up in Anita's eyes instantly. She gasped and whispered, Thank you, Jesus. She climbed in without hesitation. When they arrived at the mansion, music was still playing and the celebration continued. But when Kenechukwu saw her at the gate, everything around him faded. He stepped forward, reached for Miracle gently, and cradled the baby in his arms. Welcome, he said softly. You're safe now. He turned. To a maid, take her to the guest room, give her a warm bath, new clothes, anything she needs. Anita was too stunned to speak. The scent of food drifted from the kitchen, the polished floors, the floral curtains, the soft chatter in the background. It felt like another world. She had to touch the wall to be sure. It wasn't a dream. That night, Anita and Miracle slept under a real roof, in a real bed. For the first time in months, there were no sirens, no cold pavement, no fear of tomorrow. Only peace. The next morning, sunlight poured in through the curtains. Anita was feeding Miracle when Kenechukwu entered, dressed casually this time. He smiled and sat across from her. Anita, tell me something, he began. What kind of business can you do? She looked up shyly. I learned hairdressing. In the village, sir, I'm good with hair. Perfect, he said, nodding. I'll open a studio for you. We'll get you trained and set up properly. You'll never go back to the streets again. Anita dropped the spoon from her hand and covered her face. Tears of gratitude streamed freely. Thank you. Thank you, sir, she whispered. Kenechukwu smiled. Your miracle started the day I saw you. Now it's time to build your future. Weeks later, Anita's touch salon opened in the heart of Surulere. It was everything she had ever dreamed of. Neat, fully equipped, and tastefully decorated with soft pink curtains and a gleaming tiled floor. Kenechukwu had spared no expense. He even went as far as hiring a professional business coach to mentor her, teaching her customer service, inventory management, and how to keep proper records. Anita, in turn, gave the business her all. She arrived early each day and left late. Word began to spread quickly. Customers loved her gentle hands, cheerful smile, and the excellence she brought to every braid, weave, and treatment. Within just a few months, her earnings multiplied. She secured a small but comfortable apartment nearby and enrolled Miracle in a creche with caring teachers and bright classrooms. For the first time in her life, Anita breathed freely. Life had begun to make sense. As for Kenechukwu, he was a different kind of busy. A man who once closed multi-billion naira deals now found himself distracted by thoughts of a young woman who once stood in the rain, desperate and broken. He couldn't stop thinking about her, her resilience, her smile, her kindness. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw her, but he was afraid. Would she think he's trying to buy her love? Would she ever see him as more than a helper? Now Kenechukwu is confused. If you were in Kenechukwu's shoes, what would you do? Would you tell her how you feel, or walk away in silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Like and subscribe.